welcome to our corner where we talk about the Streets of Avalon role-playing game. I'm Chris.
And I'm Brett.
And today we're talking about an overview of the Streets of Avalon, and this is our inaugural episode of the Streets of Avalon podcast.
Yes.
We're going to get to things that make this city setting and game different from places like Lankmar or Zobek, or pick your giant mega fantasy city. But before
there's plenty of them out there. So you got to figure, like, why would I want this one? What's this one about? Why is it interesting? Yeah.
Yep. First, I suppose, like, Brett, man, like, this is your setting. You made Avalon like 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Yeah, I joke and I say it was a wife and a life ago, right? So this was like 25 years back. I was running a lot of Vampire the Masquerade at the time in the 90s, because that was all hip and cool, right? And city campaigns were always a ton of fun.
I agree.
I wanted to run a city campaign in a Dungeons and Dragons type of setting because I loved Lankmar, the Thieves World, even Waterdeep and so on. I love those things. When I was reading those settings, I didn't have the feeling that I would get when I would run a vampire game, right? Where the city had its own little microcosm. You stayed within the walls, so to say, even if there weren't real walls, obviously, Chicago or LA or wherever I was running my vampire game didn't have walls, but you still felt like you were bound within this box of the city.
Because that's where everything was happening, right?
Exactly. All the cool stuff was happening there. And I realized that in a good fantasy city, it's all there. You've got dungeons, you've got unexplored ruins, you've got necromancers, undead, you've got everything. It's all there. You just might need to make the city a little bit bigger. Sometimes it goes out, sometimes it goes down or up, depending. But I wanted a city I could run fantasy games, my style, which tends to be grimmer, a little bit darker. But I wanted a place where when you do heroic things, you really feel like you did something cool and heroic. Mm-hmm. I don't mean heroic like, Superman, 4-color, like stuff like that. I'm talking about like you did a pragmatic thing. You did the right thing for the people around you.
Yeah,
so you feel good about it.
That is I assume that's one of the major ideas behind the setting of Avalon.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for D&D terms, there's alignment, and my friends would say, well, what kind of alignments are allowed if we were using a D&D type of rule set back
alignment?
In the day? And I'm like, don't worry about it, type of thing. It doesn't matter. Because what happened is it's not, everything's not a morally ambiguous choice, right? Not everything has to be that way, but it's life. And the idea was, it's kind of that almost a cyberpunky thing in a way, but take out the sci-fi pieces of it, right?
I agree with that. Like I'm right there with you. In fact, when we talk about that a little bit later, I will absolutely talk about why I feel like it's like that.
But I wanted a place where when you did stuff and it was neighborhood based, you don't have to save the whole city, the whole world all the time. You save the baker, the people who run the inn, you fix the ghoul problem, you solve this Thieves Guild's issue. The necromancer is doing something, the one weird religious zealot cult that was causing problems in your area. When you're doing that, you're making life for yourself and the people around you in your little zone of the city. You're making it better. Sometimes, it might make enemies doing that, or it might not make everybody's lives better. But overall, even if they don't completely understand what you did or whatnot, you did the right thing. You did what you were supposed to do to make this crap better. Everything you do helps build things up a little bit.
You handed the setting to me. You're like, Chris, let's make a game. So we did a book a while ago. I think it was like 2019 was when the Streets of Avalon book came out.
Yeah, we did that Kickstarter. We based it on the 5e, because that was the thing.
It's very loosely tied to it, right? It's it's really mostly a setting book with some ideas for like how to run games inside the city.
Correct. I have run it with GURPS, BRP, the Chaosium basic system, first edition, second edition, fifth edition, D&D, Pathfinder, and just looked at different things and ideas. And one of the struggles was always like, how do I want to capture all the stuff we talked about and the other things we will talk about. Like, how do I make that into this? I want to focus. I want the system to be focused. I don't want to have to feel like I'm wedging, cramming, I don't know. It's just kind of a bespoke, maybe is the right term. But something that's more curated.
Build a game that actually supports the things that the city is supposed to be about. Like the gameplay that's supposed to happen in the city.
Exactly. If I think back to the original actual plays that you and I were a part of doing that, with Avalon and stuff. It worked in 5e, but I believe it worked because of us as the players and the GM at the table, right?
Yeah.
I was bringing my city there, and you guys were bringing some kick-ass like a game RPG stuff to the table too. So we were able. It worked. It totally worked, and so on. But there's very obviously a number of rules. We're like, I don't need that one. Let's ignore that one. Let's do this. Let's modify this. Let's tweak that.
And then
So I'm
getting
like,
around the idea of like pretty powerful magic type stuff, even like a
yes,
third level druid, because we had a third level druid changing into
yes.
like bears and things like that, and that just is not really what the tone of the game is.
No, it doesn't fit. And it's one of those things where we make it work because of who we are, and that's great. But if somebody else is like, oh, I'd like to do that, I can't package us and have them just crawl into us and say, okay, let's use the year worth of talking and discussing and playing in this setting so that it feels second nature to, how the hell do you start? Right.
Correct.
So you can do all the right stuff and have all the right tools to be successful. And you don't get in there and go, it sounded really good, but I just can't make it work.
So we will talk about that in a future episode about how like I think the next episode when we talk about the actual lamplighter system, which is what the game is based on, the game that I built based on our conversations and the games that we've played and all of the setting and whatnot. That is like one of the major like ideas behind this game too, is like this is a low magic investigation heavy action oriented kind of game.
Yeah, I think about it as a one of the things I think about when people say, when I hear the word noir, is that everybody has a story. There's stuff going on. It's minor things and so on. And when you meet someone on the street, they've got a name, they got a personality, they've got pieces, parts. What do I want to say? The things that are not important are not how big of a fireball you can cast, how much damage you can do, type of thing. It's who you are, how you get along in the neighborhood, how you can do those gritty things that you need to do to survive. You're going to be dealing with stuff that you're probably outclassed and outmatched. How do you make that work, man? You're the underdog. You're John McClane. You're John McClane in a way, right? It's like there's a whole host of bad guys and you're Nakatomi Plaza. This fucking sucks. This is tough. It's hard to deal with. How am I going to make this work? I want that heroic skin in your teeth. I made it work, and we're better for it.
So let me throw a couple ideas at you and tell me if these all like fit. Because I've been pondering this for obviously like 4 years now. To me, the game, it's about focusing on small scale stories that have large implications. Most of the stuff that we've done, that is a thing that hits there. Like a little mystery on a single street may tie into something like factional warfare between the magistrate families and things like that. Which means that as players and game masters, we should be thinking globally but acting locally, right? Like,
exactly, absolutely, yeah. You do a local thing, but has global implications, right? Whatever you've done, yes, absolutely. What's happening in your neighborhood will resonate. It's the pebble in the pond.
Yeah,
maybe the further out you get, the ripples aren't quite so big, but they're there. You've dropped something in there. You've caused, and there will be effects of what you've done.
And because that makes for the most interesting stories that occur inside of a city, inside of a storytelling. It's not like, and well, I have built some stuff for like how do you get by day to day. That's the real gameplay, is like those moments, those events in your life that matter.
Yes.
So with that, like, because it's a city, it's a lot of like politics and guild rivalries and organized crime and dirty law enforcement. And then because it's fantasy, there's some supernatural elements that come along with that and a lot of social intrigue that surrounds everything. And that's really what, in my opinion, the Streets of Avalon is all about.
Oh, I think you're dead right, man. And this is why when you and I talked about this ages ago, and we're like, hey, we should do another book. We should do something. And I said, yeah, I'm thinking we should. And you finished me off. We're going to write it. We're going to make a game, Brett. Like, okay, cool. We're making a game. I was thinking about it. Like, do we build a thing? Chris knows exactly what I want to do, how the setting works. And honestly, dude, I couldn't pick a better person to partner with us to get this done. So I think this, I've had a chance to play it when we get into the system later on. We'll talk more about it, but I've enjoyed the hell out of it.
Good.
I think it does exactly what it says on the tin, which is what we wanted, right? When you get in there, the stuff we're talking about is what the game encourages and what it supports.
So to sum up like what the major ideas behind this game are, it's a low fantasy, gritty mega city campaign that has all of that noir-esque stuff that we just talked about.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So since we talked about like it being like a local with global implications, and we've been talking about the neighborhoods a lot. What do you think an average street or neighborhood looks like in the city?
Yeah, obviously you've got different wards and sections. We could talk about that in another time, but it's got its own flavor. But generally speaking, this is a city that's built on itself, right? As many old, that quasi European fantasy thing where everything's built on itself. There's ages of Avalon beneath you, around you. The city streets, some are cobbled and paved and some are dirt. There's lots of alleyways. Some areas, the buildings practically collapse in on themselves where there's leaning, creating these little tunnels as the buildings just struggle to keep themselves upright. Within it, you've got very small patches of nature, right? The Liche, the keepers, the old, the old faith are doing the best they can to, try to shepherd people through, picking up the dead, burying folks. You've got little pockets of groves of trees and so forth. People raising small animals, pigs, ducks, chickens, whatever they can in the city just to try to survive. There's smog. It's thick. It's a port city, but it's so damn big. You don't always get the best. Don't get the best wind. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's hot. It's oppressive.
I mean, it's got a bit of that like London in the like mid 1800s feel, right?
Yes. Yeah, very much so. Like you've got the smogs, the fogs, the coal smoke, wood fires.
The tanneries spilling out
Yes.
trash.
Mhm.
The water is gross at times.
Yeah.
I mean,
But in the
luckily there's
middle,
a nice sewer system.
exactly. But in the middle of all that, though, there's people who are doing their best they're not just surviving, they're trying to their best to thrive, right? They're building relationships in this neighborhood. They're looking out for each other. They're trying to do the best they can. You may have corrupt griffins, your local law enforcement. You might have some issues there. And you've got organized crime and disorganized crime. You've got all that stuff. But at the heart, the folks are trying to do the best they can with what they've got. And the city has outgrown its own ability to govern itself properly. It just can't.
It's too big.
It's too damn big. And at a certain point, when you live here and this is your place, you're like, look, we need to make sure we take care of this. And who's going to do that?
I mean, that's a really good question, right? So a lot of people are looking out for themselves. And then, of course, like we talk about it being like there's like supernatural elements, but there's actually like monsters that just walk around in the streets at night called the Lamplighters that light the lamps in at dusk and they put them out when dawn rolls around.
Yes.
Which is to me one of the coolest things. It's like there might be monsters around, except there are monsters. Like they're just there. And they're just like an accepted part of life.
Yeah, the weird, no eyes, needly teeth, tall, weird scarecrow, over stretched out skin, lighting lamps at certain times of day. Terrified to talk to them, but sometimes you need to because they know everything or seem to know everything. The Brotherhood of Sanitary Excavators, the folks that keep the sewers and the river Styx flowing beneath it, they've got Otyugs that they breed to help keep the rivers moving, right? Just to take care of stuff. And you've got goblins, you've got goblins and kobolds that live down there, cause problems sometimes. And every once in a while there's that necromancer who's got a really cool idea. And next thing you know, you've got zombies and other weird things. Stuff comes from outside, from underneath.
From the ships.
Exactly. There's lots of places in where the unnatural can creep in.
I love it because I always whenever I'm running a game, I've run a lot of these Avalon games now, in my own home and with my own groups. I always tell people like, you don't really see goblins or kobolds. If you do, you're having a bad day. But when you hear those stories, you're like, it's hard to like just dismiss them because there are lamplighters, and you're like, well, okay, there's probably something awful out there.
If that exists, this could exist.
It's just one of my favorite little bits about that setting. It's like, it's not like the supernatural people don't believe in it. It's because it's there, right? Like, and then there's the Order of the Eye. They have magic, so they're there too, as secretive as they are. But that is one of the things that to me makes the setting pretty unique because it's not. There's magic everywhere, right? Like it's not like you could see a centaur and a troll walking on the street having a conversation. That's not the kind of thing that we're talking about. Like you don't talk to lamplighters unless you want to have a bad day, probably.
Yeah, I'm at the utmost of need. I need something that I don't think I could get anywhere else. And let's see what's going to cost me to get the info I need. But you're right. When someone says, they were investigating a problem They were helping the local brewery guild deal with a problem in one of their grain houses, and they fought giant rats and some weird rat men. No one's going to. They might be like, "Huh, sounds like a tall tale," but there's probably some truth in it because I just saw the neighborhood lamplighter walk by. Right? There's enough stuff out there, enough crazy things happen, enough things occur. They may not want to believe you, but in the back of their head, you're like, that's possible. That's 100% possible. There's enough things that happen. People are going to believe you. They're like, oh, you did see one. That just adds credence. Right. That type of thing.
So one of the other things I really love about Avalon, and I think is unique, and I'd like to get into a little bit, is the idea of the magistrate families. So the magistrate families are these 12 families that basically run the city. They're the 12 most.
Well, it's 13. They're supposed to be 13.
Supposed to be 13. I almost said 13, but there's a vacated seat at the moment.
Exactly.
And none of these families want it to be filled. Apparently, that seems like what's going on.
No.
But in the setting, in my mind, in my headcanon, they all function like these mega corporations from like Cyberpunk because they're in charge. Like they make all the laws too. So money and classism is like one of the major things about the setting for me, anyway.
It absolutely is. When you look at so there's supposed to be 13 magistrates. There's no emperor, no king, no queen, no single ruler, despotic or otherwise. And they're like, okay, we're gonna, autonomous collective. Pull out my Monty Python there.
And I am your king.
I didn't know we had a king. I thought we were an autonomous collective.
You're fooling yourself. We're living in a dictatorship, a self-perpetuating autocracy in which the working classes...
Oh, there you go, bringing class into it again.
So they're trying to pull something together, organize things, do stuff. Well, every magistrate, they're the head of a family, and that family owns at least one, if not more, guilds, I should say. And if you own like the Carpenters Guild plus the Wainwrights plus the Blacksmiths Guild, you've got a lot of bloody power. There's a lot of money coming in, a lot of influence. You've got the Masked Lords in Waterdeep. They do their best and so forth in that setting. And here what's happening is the magistrates they're so busy struggling for themselves. So this is also my little, U.S. politics drives you bananas. And there's people who are, or any politics scenario, there's people who are so concerned about their political position, they forget who they're supposed to serve. Right.
Yes.
So they've elevated and separated enough that now what they're doing is all about themselves and their little world. And the rest of us often are just whatever the crumbs that fall from magistrate's table is what is the law.
Yeah, and to make it
what the justice is whatever trickles out there.
And there's so many things in the game that create that separation. Like they have their own district. The whole north part of the city is for nobles, and the magistrates live up there, right? Like,
yes,
it is obviously a class divide in a half. And then of course they have their buffers in the guilds, and then there's all the common folk, right? Like, it just ends up being that way. And I think so from the lawmakers to the people that have to follow the laws, from geography, money dynamics, it's all just like right there to lean on. And I think that is a lot of fun. Like, I mean, there are games out there that deal with classism and whatnot, but this is like the front and center version of it in a fantasy setting, which I don't know that happens all that often.
It has to be core because I wanted it to be like, how am I going to get enough silver? I mean, it's a silver standard is the city coin, right? It's not gold. Gold is rare. You don't have a lot of it. Very rarely do you see it, if ever. And if you want to figure out how to survive.
Base 100 system.
Yeah. I did not want
100 silvers of gold.
Exactly. I didn't want to have a place where I had to count every arrow per se, but I wanted a place where, do I have enough money to survive? And when you see poor people, you're like, I was just there. Your character knows what that feels like because they are one bad pickpocketing event, one little extra splurge, one failed job away from, they have no money. Where are you going to sleep tonight?
Mm-hmm.
How much debt do you want to get into because you've been crashing at different flop houses and promising people money that you don't have and you have no idea how to get?
I got mechanics for that too in this game.
I know you do.
They all exist.
But to me, that makes it, I care about that stuff. And when you see people, when you want to have that Robin Hood type of event where you're like, look, I'm going to knock over this rich guy's carriage tonight. And that's okay because he can afford it. And in the process, you find out, well, crap, that guy, the reason his carriage is in this section of the city is because he's actually funneling money into this orphanage. well, crap, what did I just get myself into?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's all of those types of things, you know, and the fun part too is when you cast certain things is you can break all those molds. There's a standard, as we talk about, and then you get to, as players and game masters, as you're running and organizing this stuff, there's exceptions to every rule. You know, the magistrates should do X. This is how they generally behave. It's what's normally believed to be. Well, we all know when it comes down to people, they're individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to do their own thing when they need to.
Yeah, I mean, we're just providing a setup for you. You should
Exactly.
play against tropes, play against the set standards, and those make for interesting stories, if you ask me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If everything's stuck exactly to what it is, then it gets really boring.
I agree.
Well, that's part of the ambiguity of things, is like your characters are going to end up having to run into things. The adventures are going to cause morally ambiguous situations sometimes not. When you encounter, in my current Avalon game right now, the guy's encountered a goblin who calls himself Maurice. And he has this weird alchemical glue, which is effectively sovereign glue, and he's been like building card houses, which are indestructible at this point. Just this weird wonky little guy. And they were like, is he dangerous? Is he not dangerous? I don't understand what's going on with Maurice. And then he became kind of a weird little information guy down in the sewers when they needed him. That was great. And he recently got murdered. He was beaten to death and nailed to a wall. The guys are like, that's the worst thing that's happened to them, is their weird little goblin friend. That's it. All other adventures stop. All other issues. We got to find who killed Maurice and why, you know. But it was, they also know that if they run into other goblins, probably not as nice as Maurice. They're nervous and scared about anything else, right? They could be anything. But that's just, you know, that's the type of shit that you're going to run into, because that's what's out there.
The most recent playtest that I just finished running, the group got involved in a legal circle fighting, pit fighting arena.
Yes.
Because they heard, they were hired to go in there and check it out, because they heard that this guy was moving outsiders. Like, and by outsiders, I mean people that don't live in the city, the people that are like foreign to the city, for the people that are listening, from ships through this place, and then selling them off to people on the outer farms for food, for cheap labor, which, you know, you're getting around a bunch of slavery is probably not like, I always forget if slavery is like a thing or not in Avalon. I don't know, but I always like say that it's probably not the best thing, because people don't like it.
No, you can have servants, but you pay them. Slavery would definitely, it's going to happen, but it's happening exactly as you're describing it, Chris, is because it's horrible. It's underhanded. When you hear about it, nobody likes that.
Nobody likes it. So this poor guy that was running this he's like in a building, right? It's like a legitimized fighting, like, you know, boxing MMA type thing. And he's smuggling people through it because he owes a guy's got him like bent over because of he was in debt and he had to loan him some money. And now this guy's like working him. And there's like all sorts of people involved in this thing, including some of the people that run the magistrate houses or families, because they are the ones that have like the biggest farms out there and they can afford this kind of underhanded garbage. But like they worked really hard to try to find the people who were the worst people involved to cut out of this chain so they could stop it from happening.
That's awesome.
And they did, but they had to go through like 5 different avenues of investigation to find like, oh yeah, we'll kill these guys because not only are they part of this, but they're also like cultists that are like trying to summon otherworldly evils. And then they're like, oh, we'll go kill them. So they just like assassinated them in an alley somewhere at one point in time. Like, hey man, you guys worked really hard at that.
A little more surgical than like kill all slavers or kill everyone involved. It was like kill the ringleaders, kill the people that matter, the actual bad, the evil of evils.
But they had a hard time deciding what to do with the owner of that fighting establishment, because they're like, this guy's not really a bad guy, right? Like he just got caught up in a bad situation.
One of the other, just from a supernatural perspective, we'll talk about other adventures that we've written and published at Iron Shoes and such. But one of my favorite things they had done in a different Avalon campaign about a year or so ago was my crew had gotten in with this lady who owned a tavern. And it was going great, whatever. And they noticed that there was a door that was always locked to the basement. She acted kind of weird, like, well, people are weird. What you gonna do? And she had a small pack of ghouls that were her sons in the basement that she fed people to.
Yeah, that's good.
And they're like, what do we do with her? She doesn't know what to do. She's trying to stop them from. and she's only feeding them criminals and or dead people she finds. That's still not right, but oh, this poor woman, what happened? What was the story? And they wanted to know. I think the part of the driving force here is like, why are you there? And like you described with the guy running the pit, why are you doing this? It's not just he's chaotic evil.
Dude, he's got a reason.
There's a reason for it. That's the noir piece. I'm in here because I'm in over my head. I have debt. I have a problem. I am addicted to Gray Lotus. I have no choice. I've something bad has happened. And in this case, there's a very long story that they all figured out about this poor woman and ghouls and why she was stuck doing it and what they chose to do later. It was it was scary and bloody, and the poor woman ended up in an asylum basically after the fact. So,
yeah.
But again, morally ambiguous, hard to figure out what exactly you're going to do. Maybe not morally ambiguous to some, but at the time, and the group was like, man, what the hell do we do? This is a problem.
So that's a few examples of games and situations that have occurred. I guess I have one, maybe two more questions for this particular episode before we get out of here. What do you think are the games that are most suitable to be played in Avalon? What kind of games do you think are the best? I mean, I could go first if you want.
Yeah, hit me. What do you so I brought this to you and you played it with me. So and you've run a bunch. So what are you finding fits?
There are three types of games to me that work best in Avalon. The first one is you are some sort of investigators in the city that investigate things that are going on. And that can encompass a lot of stuff, right? Like from actually like looking into serial killers or murders or thefts or things like that to monster hunting. Monster hunting is a kind of investigation, if you ask me. So it all fits inside of that that kind of play style. And I've built frameworks for people to utilize to play it. The other one is you're criminals. You're like doing heists, trying to like make a name for yourselves in the city. And I got stuff for that. And the last one is being delvers or explorers. Like you go into dangerous places in the city for some reason, either it be it money or you were hired like by the sanitary excavators to be like, man, some piece of Thorbendor just like pushed up against the sewers. Go in there because something awful came out of it. We need you to check it out, clear it out, make sure it's safe so nothing else terrible comes out. So those are to me the three kinds of games that work best in the Streets of Avalon.
What I have to hit people with like the elevator pitch to say is, for me, I've often said troubleshooting, and they're like, what is that? You start out, you're in your neighborhood, a thing occurs. When my Iron Shoes adventure that I wrote and that we put out was you're doing your thing, and then crash into the local marketplace come these kids who are horribly hurt, wounded, something bad happened, it needs solving. From there, it turns into a monster hunt. Like, we have to go solve this problem. We have to investigate it. We got to solve it. A lot of that stuff kind of falls into that troubleshooting scenario. And for me, that's how I end up usually drawing people into whatever the quote unquote plot is, or various plots, things that are happening, all the machinations that are moving. Is there's an inciting incident. And then what are you going to do with that? Whose side do you take? Where do you go? But I find that when they start, if I get them invested in solving a problem, initially, they're help solving a problem for the neighborhood. My current campaign, the crew is trying to solve. There's the local thieves guild went kind of bonkers, a little cultish, got a little extra violent. So like, we got to stop this. They cleared that out. Now they're trying to decide, are we the new thieves guild? And then fun. Another thieves guild, the Red Hand from up north, is like, hey, this whole neighborhood's free, man. Maybe we should move in here.
Consequences and repercussions based on events that have occurred, right?
Exactly.
Because that's the next situation. Like, this thieves guild's moving into your space. What do you do, right?
And the beautiful thing is, because it's all in the walls of the city. So you start off doing one type of thing, and next thing you know, you're exploring. Because you knocked down a wall, you solve the problem, but in the middle of the problem, the floor gave way and you've uncovered a new section of sewer or underground, something that hasn't been opened forever, or you're in an abandoned manor house. What the hell is in here? And then you're like, wait a minute, we unleashed the monster? I didn't know we did that. Oh my God, it just ate 4 people. Crap, now we're hunting the monster. It can all lead to different pieces. I have found that the best campaigns in Avalon encompass almost all of those parts, because then I'm satisfying all of those different pieces. Because people, I find, when they're really enjoying the setting, want to do a little bit of all of those things.
I'm with you.
About.
Those three things that I mentioned, like if you could just bounce back and forth between them. I think that's the sweet spot for getting like really enjoyable stories out of your Avalon campaigns, especially your longer running ones.
I think that's the piece that makes unique is such a strong word. It gets thrown out a lot, but that's the thing I love about the setting, what you've been able to help me do with the rules and mechanics you built and stuff. You don't feel constrained to, this is about heists, this is about this, this is about this, this is about this. There's options and different styles of that type of play, and you can jump into each one, mix match and so forth. It's not like people don't know how to do that out there who've played many games, and other games can allow that. But I think with your help, we've created something here that really, all the stuff we've talked about, I believe we've given it the right frame, all the tools and mechanisms you need to, when you want to migrate from one type of gaming, one type of adventure. I want to go from the investigation, and I want to do a heist because I need that now. And shit, now I'm hunting monsters and I've got to go explore the area where the monster might be. All of that stuff is possible. It's going to have the right fit and feel.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I think that's enough for episode 1 of Under the Lamplight. So thank you so much for listening to Under the Lamplight.
Yeah, I hope we whetted your appetite. At least.
If you were even more interested, you can pick up the playtest version of the game at www.polygamero.us. If you are not listening to this on YouTube, you can feel free to listen to this and watch us on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.